It's Easter weekend, and you've probably heard the story 1,000 times. But what if there's more to it? What if we could peel back all the layers of empire, of patriarchy, of centuries of interpretation to find something way older and honestly, way bigger? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do.
I mean, really think about it. What if the life, death, and resurrection of Christ wasn't just a one-off historical event? What if it was actually a pattern, a blueprint, woven right into the fabric of the universe itself? That's the huge question we're diving into today as we piece together a very different kind of Easter story.
Now, this isn't just some theory I cooked up. This whole narrative is a synthesis. It's built by drawing on some specific and often pretty overlooked texts. These are the sources that really challenge us to look past the version we all know, to see what might have gotten lost or, intentionally edited out over the years.
Specifically, we're pulling from 3 incredibly powerful books. We've got Richard Rohr's The Universal Christ, which totally reframes Christ as this cosmic reality. Then there's Tom Harper's The Pagan Christ, which uncovers the, pre-Christian roots of the entire story. And finally, the Aquarian Gospel, which tells this amazing story of Jesus' global education. You put these 3 together, and wow, the picture looks completely different.
Okay, so where does a story like this even begin? Forget the manger in Bethlehem. We have to go way, way back. Like 13.7 billion years back to the very beginning of creation. See, before there was Jesus the man, this story says there was the Christ, the logos of infinities, the universal blueprint for reality itself.
The theologian Richard Rohr gives this an incredible name, the First Incarnation. It's this idea that at the moment of the Big Bang, the divine poured itself into every single physical thing. So spirit became the light and the life inside, everything. The rocks, the oceans, the stars, that was the first holy book, the first Bible, long before anyone wrote a single word down.
This just completely flips the script. Instead of a universe born from original sin, this is a universe born from original goodness. Spirit and matter were never ever separate. And Rohr just puts it so perfectly. God loves things by becoming them. That alone is a huge shift in how you see the world, right?
So if that's the cosmic background, what about the human story? Well, according to the Aquarian Gospel, it doesn't start with the patriarchs we always hear about. Nope, it starts with the divine feminine. It describes Mary and Elizabeth as initiates being trained in a sacred grove in Egypt, preparing to give what they call humanity's corporate yes to the divine. And this is where the story gets really wild. It leads us into the next phase, the global education of Jesus. In this telling, his wisdom wasn't just from his local tradition in Judea. It was a synthesis, a grand tour of the spiritual centers of the ancient world.
The Aquarian Gospel maps out this incredible journey. He goes to India, where he actually lives among the lowest castes to preach equality. Then he's off to Tibet, studying ancient wisdom in the Himalayas. And his journey ends in Egypt, where he has to pass a series of intense initiations in the ancient mystery schools.
Look, this was not some kind of gap year trip. This was a deep, profound immersion into the world's wisdom traditions. He's learning from masters, he's challenging social injustice, and in the end, in a temple in Heliopolis, he supposedly earns the degree of the Christ. It's presented as a title, an achievement, someone who has fully realized that universal truth inside himself.
This quote from the Pagan Christ highlights a crucial point. These spiritual stories are universal. The idea of a transfiguration, miracles, even the core teachings, they show up in different cultures, hundreds of years before the Gospels were ever written. The story of the Buddha is a perfect example. It suggests these aren't just isolated events, but like archetypal truths of the human spiritual path.
So picture this. This globally educated, enlightened figure returns home to Judea, and he does not get a hero's welcome. Instead, he finds a local religion that's gotten all tangled up with the power of the Roman Empire. And right there, you have the setup for a massive conflict.
It's basically 2 completely opposing worldviews on a collision course. On one side, you have his message of a universal Christ. It's all about inclusion, restorative love, forgiveness. And on the other, you have what Rohr calls the religion of empire, a system built on power, exclusion, and a kind of tit-for-tat justice. They just could not coexist. So his mission, in this view, wasn't to scrap everything and start a new religion. It was to be a code breaker for the old one. He was trying to get people to stop focusing on the literal rules and the external stuff, and instead see the deeper, symbolic truth, to find that Christ within that he had discovered was available to absolutely everyone.
And we all know where this clash of worlds ends up. It leads directly to the cross. But in this telling, the meaning of the cross gets a radical makeover. It's not about a divine payment for sin. It's a profound statement about the very nature of reality.
So let me just ask you to think about that for a second. When you see a cross, do you think of a transaction, a debt being paid? Or do you think of a transformation, a pattern being revealed? Because these sources argue really strongly that it's all about transformation.
The cross here becomes a symbol for what Rohr calls the cruciform pattern of all reality. It represents that constant tension we all live with, that intersection of spirit and matter, of our greatest joys and our deepest suffering, of life and death. In a very real sense, we are all living on that cross every single day.
And here's the absolute kicker from the Pagan Christ. The cross was a universal symbol of life for thousands of years before Christianity ever adopted it. It represented the elements, the meeting of heaven and earth. It was about what it means to be alive in a body, to be on this cross of fleshly existence. It was never, ever about death.
This quote from Rohr just nails the whole point. The crucifixion wasn't to appease some angry God. That's not it at all. It was this dramatic public demonstration meant to shatter our small, human, fearful ideas about God. He came to change our minds, to show us a divine love that meets suffering head-on and absorbs it, instead of just passing it on.
And that brings us, finally, to the resurrection. But you can probably guess by now, this isn't just about one man's private miracle. It's framed as a massive cosmic event, one that unlocked a totally new potential for every single thing in existence.
The idea here is that the resurrection wasn't about proving something happened 2,000 years ago. It was about revealing a fundamental truth of the universe, that life is stronger than death. The stone wasn't rolled away to show an empty tomb. It was rolled away to show that this divine light is absolutely everywhere, and it can't be contained by death or by anything else.
Rohr has a great name for this whole process, the harrowing of hell. Now, this isn't about rescuing people from a fiery pit. Hell is just the state of separation. So the resurrection is this cosmic event that pulls all of creation, from every time and every culture, Mayans, Neanderthals, you and me, out of that lonely separation and back into the unity of divine life.
And that's the ultimate point. Resurrection isn't just a story you're supposed to believe in. It's an ongoing, contagious reality. It's a potential for transformation and new life that exists inside every single one of us, right now, just waiting to be woken up.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. If this whole Christ story is really a universal pattern, a blueprint for life, death, and rebirth, then what does resurrection look like for us today, in your life, in our communities, in our world? What old thing needs to die so that something brand new has a chance to be born?